Create file, MNT user data outputs part 1 alone. In the temple.md, alone in the temple, he found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council chamber hung suspended in space, its crystalline walls revealing the starfield beyond. Inside, 500 alien representatives from across the Milky Way sat in tiered rings, their attention focused on the solitary human standing in the center of the judgment platform. Admiral Marcus Vega stood with squared shoulders, his weathered face betraying no emotion despite the gravity of the moment. The fate of humanity rested on his next words. Earth, a planet the Council had quarantined for centuries, had broken that quarantine 3 days ago when Vega's ship, the Defiant, intercepted a Corvaxian slave vessel passing through the Sol system. The human speaks of defending itself, hissed High Counselor Drath, his serpentine form coiled on the highest tier. Yet we find evidence of advanced weapons technology aboard their vessel. Technology far beyond their sanctioned development level. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The 7-member Galactic High Council exchanged glances. This wasn't proceeding as expected. The quarantine was established for your protection, said Counselor Iris, her translucent tendrils waving dismissively. Humans have demonstrated unprecedented aggression throughout your brief history. The Council has catalogued over 10,000 distinct human conflicts. Vega allowed himself a thin smile. And yet here I stand, representing a unified Earth government that has known peace for 50 years. Peace achieved through the total subjugation of your dissenters, thundered Counselor Kahl, slamming a massive fist down. We've observed your methods. What you call subjugation, we call democracy, Vega replied calmly. Perhaps if you'd bothered to make actual contact instead of spying on us for centuries, you might understand the difference. A dangerous silence fell over the chamber. You stand accused of violating galactic quarantine, Drath continued, ignoring Vega's challenge, of developing prohibited technologies, of interfering with authorized Corvaxian operations. How do you plead? Vega straightened. This was the moment Earth had prepared for. The Council expected submission, apologies, perhaps even begging. They would receive none of those things. Before I answer, Vega said, his voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber, I'd like to present evidence of my own. Without waiting for permission, he activated the holographic projector embedded in his uniform. The chamber darkened as images appeared above the platform. Planets stripped of resources, indigenous species displaced, entire civilizations reduced to servitude under Corvaxian rule. What is this? Drath demanded. This is what your authorized Corvaxian operations actually look like, Vega replied. And this... He switched to new footage. The Corvaxian vessel they'd intercepted. Its holds filled not with cargo but with children. Non-human children from a dozen different worlds. This is the slave ship we stopped from passing through our system. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several council members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from contempt to confusion. The Corvaxians claimed diplomatic immunity when we boarded them. Vega continued. They presented council documentation authorizing their passage, which means either the council knowingly permits slavery, he paused, letting the accusation hang in the air, or someone on this council is being deceived. The chamber erupted into chaos. Counselor Iris's tendrils twisted in agitation. Kahl was on his feet, roaring denials. Only Drath remained still, his reptilian eyes narrowing to slits. Silence. The command came not from any counselor, but from a new figure who had entered the chamber unnoticed during the commotion. Tall and regal, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that shimmered with galaxies, she moved toward the center. The council members immediately fell silent, many bowing their heads. Who are you? Vega asked, though something deep within him already sensed the answer. I am Lithera, she said, her voice resonating at a frequency that made Vega's bones hum. Observer of this council. And you, human, have just changed everything. As she approached Vega, the lights in the chamber dimmed further until only her luminescent eyes were visible in the darkness. The trial is suspended, she announced. This council has questions to answer before it can presume to judge humanity. In the 3 months since the confrontation at the Galactic Council, Admiral Vega had been confined to the diplomatic quarters on Altaris Prime, the neutral planet hosting the Council headquarters. Earth remained under quarantine, but the terms were being re-evaluated, bureaucratic speak for the Council being thrown into unprecedented chaos. Meanwhile, Vega had a new problem. Lithera had vanished immediately after the hearing, leaving him with more questions than answers. The few council members still willing to speak with him claimed ignorance about her identity, or referred to her only as the observer, with obvious fear. Vega's diplomatic handler, a four-armed humanoid named Jorax, arrived at his quarters one evening looking unusually nervous. "You have a visitor," Jorax announced, fidgeting with all four hands simultaneously. "The council finally ready to continue the hearing?" Vega asked. "No, it's someone else. She requested privacy, and she said to give you this." Jorax handed over a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. When Jorax left, a hooded figure emerged from the shadows of the room. She lowered her hood to reveal features Vega immediately recognized. "Lithera, you've caused quite the disruption." "Admiral?" she said with what might have been amusement in her otherworldly voice. "That was the plan," Vega replied cautiously. "Though I didn't expect divine intervention." "Divine?" She tilted her head. "Is that how you see me?" Half the council bowed when you entered. The other half looked ready to flee. "What else should I think?" Lithera gestured to the crystal in his hand. "Activate it." When Vega pressed the crystal, a holographic map appeared showing a distant uninhabited sector of the galaxy. "There is a temple there," Lithera said. "Ancient beyond the reckoning of even the oldest council races. I need you to take me to it." Vega stared at her. "I'm essentially a prisoner here. My ship is impounded and Earth is still under quarantine." "Those are inconveniences I can help with," she replied. "The question is whether you will help me." "Why would I?" "Because what you discover there will either save your species or condemn it." She moved closer, her galaxy eyes reflecting Vega's own image back at him. "The Council fears humanity for good reason, Admiral, but not for the reasons they've told you." 48 hours later, Vega found himself aboard his own ship, the Defiant, traveling under mysterious diplomatic clearances that his second-in-command, Lieutenant Diana Reed, couldn't explain. "Sir, I'm as happy as anyone to be back aboard, but this makes no sense," Reed said as they prepared for the jump to hyperspace. "Yesterday we were pariahs. Today we're given priority clearance through 3 restricted sectors. Our passenger has influence," Vega replied simply. "About that?" Reed lowered her voice. "The crew is talking. Some say she's not. Well, not a normal alien. Petty Officer Kendrick claims she walked through a bulkhead without opening the door." Vega had witnessed similar impossibilities but chose to keep those observations to himself. "Focus on the mission, Lieutenant. We're to reach these coordinates and assist our passenger in accessing the site." The journey took 7 days, during which Lithera remained in her assigned quarters, emerging only once to request access to the ship's historical database. When they finally reached the destination, a small, barren moon orbiting a gas giant in an unremarkable star system, Vega was summoned to the observation deck where Lithera stood staring out at the desolate landscape. "There's nothing down there," Vega said, studying the sensor readings. "No structures, no energy signatures." "Your instruments cannot detect what we seek," Lithera replied. "We must go to the surface. You and I alone." Despite Reed's objections, Vega found himself in a shuttle with Lithera, descending toward the moon's cratered surface. As they approached, Lithera placed her hand on the shuttle's console and suddenly the view screen flickered. The barren landscape transformed, revealing an enormous structure that hadn't been there moments before. A temple of impossible architecture, with spires that seemed to bend reality around them. "How?" Vega began. "It exists between dimensions," Lithera explained, "hidden from those who cannot perceive the folds in reality." Create file, MNT, user data, outputs part 2 Laosk alone, in the temple.md. Alone in the temple, he found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever. They landed near the temple entrance, a towering archway inscribed with symbols that hurt Vega's eyes when he tried to focus on them. As they exited the shuttle, the artificial gravity gave way to the moon's natural pull, making each step lighter. "What is this place?" Vega asked as they approached the entrance. "The last remnant of those who came before," Lithera said. "The ones who seeded this galaxy with life, the ones who created my kind to observe and guide, and the ones who foresaw humanity's emergence." The massive doors of the temple opened at Lithera's approach, revealing a cavernous interior illuminated by sourceless light. In the center stood a pedestal with what appeared to be a simple metal sphere. "This is what we came for?" Vega asked, approaching the sphere. "No," Lithera said, her voice suddenly urgent. "Admiral, don't—" But Vega had already reached for the sphere. The moment his fingers touched its surface, blinding light erupted from within it, engulfing him completely. Vega felt his consciousness expanding, connecting to something vast and ancient. Knowledge poured into him. The true history of the galaxy, the purpose of the Council, the reason for humanity's quarantine. And most terrifying of all, the threat that was coming. The threat that only humanity was equipped to face. When the light faded, Vega collapsed to his knees, gasping. Lithera knelt beside him, her expression a mixture of concern and awe. "You weren't supposed to do that," she whispered. "But perhaps this is how it was always meant to be." Vega looked up at her, his perception forever changed. "You're not just an observer," he said. "You're a guardian, one of the last. And you, Marcus Vega of Earth," she replied, "are now something far more than human." In the temple's shadowy recesses, ancient machinery hummed to life for the first time in millennia, sending a signal that would echo across the galaxy, announcing the awakening of powers long forgotten, and the beginning of a transformation that would reshape the cosmic order. The return journey to Alteris Prime was conducted in silence. Vega remained in his quarters, struggling to contain the knowledge now burning through his mind like wildfire. The sphere's download had been more than information. It had changed him on a cellular level. His crew noticed but said nothing about their admiral's now luminescent eyes or the fact that he no longer seemed to need sleep or sustenance. Lieutenant Reed finally confronted him as they approached the Altaris system. "Sir, the crew needs reassurance. And frankly, so do I." Vega looked at his second-in-command, seeing not just the woman before him but the entire tapestry of her genetic lineage stretching back to Earth's primordial oceans. He could perceive the quantum fluctuations in her neural pathways, the microscopic tensions in her facial muscles, signs of fear she was professionally masking. "The Council has been lying to every species in the galaxy for 12,000 years, Diana," he said, "including themselves." "About what, sir?" "About what humanity really is." Vega turned to the viewport, watching as the swirling hyperspace tunnel collapsed back into normal space. "And about what's coming for all of us." When they docked at Alteris Prime, they found not the diplomatic reception they expected, but a military blockade. 6 Council enforcement vessels surrounded the Defiant before they'd fully emerged from hyperspace. "We are being hailed," the communications officer announced. "It's High Counselor Drath himself." The Serpentine Counselor's face appeared on the main view screen, his expression cold. "Admiral Vega, you and your vessel are charged with violating diplomatic restrictions, theft of restricted navigational data, and conspiracy with a known dissident. Power down your shields and prepare to be boarded." Vega felt Lithera's presence before she entered the bridge. She moved to stand beside him, facing the counselor. "This vessel and its crew acted under my authority, Drath," she said. "The ancient protocols supersede Council jurisdiction." Drath's composure faltered. "The protocols apply only to confirmed existential threats. You've overstepped, observer." "Have I?" Lithera gestured to Vega. "Then explain him." For the first time, Drath seemed to notice the change in Vega's appearance. His serpentine pupils contracted to pinpoints. "What have you done?" "What was necessary," Lithera replied. "The temple has confirmed what I've suspected. The harvesters are returning, and humanity is the firewall the progenitors designed to stop them." The bridge crew exchanged confused glances, but Vega understood perfectly. The knowledge inside him, the true history of the galaxy, the cyclical threat that consumed all advanced life every 50,000 years, and humanity's engineered purpose as the ultimate defense system. All of it had been hidden by the Council out of fear and jealousy. "This is sedition," Drath hissed. "The harvesters are a myth used to control primitive species. You've violated our most sacred laws for nothing." "Then you won't mind if we present our evidence to the full Council?" Vega suggested, stepping forward. Let all species hear about the progenitor's final solution to the harvester cycle. Let them learn why humanity was quarantined, not because we're too violent, but because we're the only species capable of evolving into what the galaxy needs. Drath's face contorted with rage. You will not reach the council chamber. Fire on the human vessel. The transmission cut off as the enforcement vessels moved into attack formation. Shields up, Vega ordered calmly, but do not return fire. Sir, we're outgunned 6-1, Reed protested. Trust me, Lieutenant, Vega said, raising his hand toward the viewscreen. No one is firing on anyone today. As the first enforcement vessel fired, something impossible happened. The energy beam froze in space halfway to the Defiant, suspended in a distortion of space-time that Vega had somehow created with a gesture. The crew stared in shock as their admiral manipulated the frozen energy with movements of his fingers, redirecting it safely away from all vessels. What you're witnessing, Lethera announced to the stunned bridge crew, is what humanity was designed to become. The progenitors engineered your species with dormant abilities. Abilities that can only be activated by the temple's catalyst. Abilities that make you the perfect weapon against the harvesters. More enforcement vessels fired, and each time, Vega neutralized their attacks with increasing confidence, redirecting energy, creating localized gravity wells, manipulating the fabric of reality itself. Send a message to all council worlds, Vega commanded. Transmit on all frequencies, all languages. Tell them what's happening here. Tell them their council is hiding the truth about the harvester's return. Tell them humanity has been kept quarantined, not because we're dangerous, but because we're necessary. As the communications officer complied, Vega turned to Lethera. The knowledge is still stabilizing in my mind. How long until the harvesters arrive? Less than a year, she replied gravely. And you are currently the only human with activated abilities. We need more. Then we need to end this quarantine immediately, Vega said, and we need to get to Earth. Outside the viewports, more vessels were arriving, not enforcement ships, but representatives from dozens of worlds, responding to the Defiance broadcast. The truth was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. On the bridge of his flagship, Councillor Drath watched in mounting horror as his carefully maintained order began to crumble. He opened a secure channel to the other 6 High Councillors. Initiate Protocol 0, he ordered. If humanity reaches its full potential, everything we've built will end. Deep beneath the surface of 7 Council worlds, ancient weapons designed for one purpose began to power up. Planet killers aimed at Earth. The race to save humanity had begun. Create file MNT user data outputs part 3 alone. In the temple.mdc alone in the temple, he found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever. The emergency council session was unlike any in galactic history. Instead of the orderly proceedings that had governed interstellar politics for millennia, the crystal chamber was in chaos. Representatives from over 300 worlds demanded answers about the harvesters, the quarantine of Earth, and the transformed human who now stood at the center of the storm. Admiral Vega, his eyes now permanently luminescent with the power of the temple's knowledge, faced the assembled delegates with Lethera at his side. Gone was the diplomatic deference he'd shown 3 months earlier. In its place was the quiet confidence of someone who held undeniable truth. For 12,000 years, Vega addressed the chamber. The High Council has hidden the existence of the harvesters, entities that emerge from the dark space between galaxies to consume all advanced life. They've hidden the fact that this cycle has repeated every 50,000 years for millions of years. Councillor Iris rose, her translucent tendrils quivering with indignation. These are dangerous conspiracy theories. There is no evidence. There is evidence in the genetic record of every species in this chamber, Vega interrupted. The sudden disappearance of advanced civilizations throughout galactic history, the mysterious dark zones where no life exists, and this. He gestured and a holographic display appeared showing real-time astronomical data from the galactic rim. Hundreds of massive objects were decelerating from faster-than-light travel, their trajectories unmistakably aimed toward populated worlds. The harvesters have arrived ahead of schedule, Vega announced, and humanity is the only species engineered specifically to fight them. The chamber erupted again, but was silenced when High Counselor Drath slithered to the center platform. Even if this threat were real, Drath hissed, why should we trust humanity? A species quarantined for its violence and unpredictability? Because those traits are exactly what the progenitors designed us for, Vega replied. The temple's archives confirm it. Humanity wasn't an accident of evolution. We were engineered as a weapon of last resort. Lithera stepped forward. The progenitors created my kind as observers, to watch and wait for the right species to receive their final gift, the ability to manipulate reality itself. They created the temple as a catalyst to awaken these abilities in humans who were ready. One human with these powers nearly disabled 6 enforcement vessels without casualties, came a voice from the assembly. It was Ambassador Torin of the Palaxian worlds, a species known for their analytical minds. Imagine what an army of such humans could do against these harvesters. Exactly why humanity should remain quarantined, Drath countered. What happens when these godlike humans decide to rule us all? We've had these abilities for less than a week, Vega said dryly. And so far we've only used them to defend ourselves and warn you of an extinction-level threat. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. The debate raged for hours until finally, Ambassador Torin proposed a compromise. A coalition of willing worlds would break the quarantine and work with Earth to prepare for the coming threat. Humanity would share its awakened abilities through the temple, but with oversight from a diverse council including Lithera and representatives from participating worlds. As the vote passed by a narrow margin, Drath and the other High Counselors exchanged subtle signals. Their backup plan was already in motion. 2 days later, Vega's ship led a coalition fleet of 67 vessels toward Earth. For the first time in centuries, humanity would receive official contact from galactic civilization, not as subjects, but as potential saviors. Lieutenant Reed approached Vega on the observation deck, where he stood watching the stars streak by in hyperspace. The coalition representatives want to know what to expect when we reach Earth, she said. How do we explain all of this? Vega turned to her, his expression troubled. Something's wrong, Diana. The temple's knowledge gives me intuition. Patterns I can sense without understanding why. What kind of patterns? Drath conceded too easily. The Council has ruled for thousands of years. They wouldn't surrender that power without a fight. He closed his eyes, focusing on the expanded awareness the temple had given him. They've activated something. Something old. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the ship. The tactical officer's voice came over the comms. Admiral! We're detecting massive energy signatures activating throughout Council space. 7 distinct sources all powering up simultaneously. Vega's eyes snapped open. The sundering protocols. They're going to destroy Earth rather than let humanity reach its potential. The coalition fleet dropped out of hyperspace to reassess, and Vega addressed their combined forces. Representatives from 67 worlds listened as he explained what the temple's knowledge had revealed. 7 planet-killer weapons, hidden on Council worlds, designed specifically to destroy any civilization that discovered the truth about humanity's purpose. We can't reach Earth in time to stop them, Ambassador Torin calculated. Even at maximum speed, the energy weapons will fire in 14 hours. We're at least 20 hours from Earth. Then we split up, Vega decided. The coalition fleet continues to Earth to begin evacuation. I'll take a small team to disable the weapons. 7 weapons scattered across Council space? Torin objected. Even with your new abilities, it's impossible. Not alone it isn't, Lithera interjected. She turned to Vega. There are others like me. Observers who have questioned the Council's wisdom. I can summon them. Within hours, 6 other beings like Lithera had joined their cause, each possessing the same otherworldly presence and ancient knowledge. Together with Vega, they formed 7 teams, 1 for each weapon. Vega's target was the facility hidden beneath Altaris Prime itself, in the very heart of Council territory. With Lithera and a small commando team from the Coalition, they infiltrated the heavily guarded installation. The fighting was intense. Council forces, now aware of the Coalition's rebellion, defended their doomsday weapon with everything they had. Vega's awakened abilities turned the tide. He could sense attacks before they came, redirect energy weapons, and even briefly manipulate time in localized fields. When they finally reached the core of the facility, they found High Counselor Drath waiting for them. His serpentine form coiled around the weapon's control systems. "You're too late," Drath said, his forked tongue flickering between his teeth. "The synchronization has begun. All 7 weapons fire in unison or not at all, a failsafe to prevent exactly this kind of interference." Vega stepped forward, his luminescent eyes scanning the ancient technology. "You've ruled through deception for thousands of years. You knew the harvesters were coming, and instead of preparing, you hid the truth. We maintained order," Drath hissed. "Your kind would bring chaos. The progenitors were fools to think creating a species of reality benders was the solution. The progenitors survived the harvesters once," Lithera said quietly. "They knew what they were doing, and where are they now?" Drath countered. "Gone because their solution was as dangerous as the threat." Create file, MNT user data, outputs part 4 alone. In the temple Mdo. Alone in the temple, he found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever. While they argued, Vega had been examining the weapon's systems with his enhanced perception. He could see not just its physical components but the quantum linkages connecting all 7 weapons across space. An idea formed in his mind. Dangerous, possibly suicidal, but their only option. "Lithera," he said, "I need you to get everyone out of here. Now." She studied his face and understood immediately. "You're going to invert it. If I can reverse the quantum entanglement between the weapon, it could kill you. Even with the temple's gifts redirecting that much energy, is our only chance to save Earth," Vega finished. "Go. Get to safety." As Lithera reluctantly evacuated the coalition team, Vega turned to Drath. "You should leave too," the counselor laughed coldly. "And miss witnessing your failure? I think not." Vega placed his hands on the weapon's control pillars and closed his eyes. He reached out with his consciousness, following the quantum threads connecting this weapon to its 6 siblings across council space. He could sense the other facilities, the enormous energies building within them, all aimed at Earth. Drawing on the temple's knowledge, he began the dangerous process of inverting the weapon's targeting systems. Pain lanced through him as the energy began to flow through his body. Alarms blared as the facility's systems detected the unauthorized interference. Drath watched in growing horror as the weapon's targeting display changed, showing new coordinates. "What have you done?" Vega opened his eyes, now blazing with power. "I've changed the targets. The weapons will fire on themselves. You'll kill millions of innocent council citizens." "No," Vega gasped through the pain. "I've calibrated the inversions. Each weapon will destroy only itself, not the planet it's on. But I can't stop them from firing." Drath lunged at him, but it was too late. The countdown reached 0, and across council space, 7 ancient weapons activated simultaneously, each one turning its immense power inward, destroying itself in a contained implosion that left surrounding territories untouched. The backlash of energy surged through Vega's body. He collapsed, his consciousness fading as Lithera rushed back into the chamber. The last thing he heard before darkness took him was Drath's whispered admission. "Perhaps we were wrong about humanity after all." Across the galaxy, news spread of the averted catastrophe. Earth was safe, the Council's control was broken, and the Coalition fleet arrived to find a planet unaware of how close it had come to destruction. But the greater threat remained. The harvesters were still coming, and Vega, if he survived, would be only the first of many transformed humans needed to face them. 3 months after the destruction of the Council's doomsday weapons, Earth had changed beyond recognition. The arrival of the Coalition fleet had brought first shock, then wonder, and finally purpose to a humanity that had long suspected it wasn't alone in the universe. The temple from the distant moon had been carefully relocated to Earth's lunar surface, where it served as both a training ground and transformation center. Every day, hundreds of specially selected humans underwent the awakening process, emerging with abilities that defied conventional physics, each person's gifts slightly different, based on their natural aptitudes and the mysterious algorithms of the progenitor's design. Admiral Marcus Vega, having barely survived his encounter with the Council weapons, had become something more than human but less than a god, a bridge between what humanity was and what it needed to become. His luminescent eyes and gravity-defying movements marked him as the first of a new kind of human, one engineered to face the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. In the newly established Galactic Coalition headquarters in Geneva, representatives from over 200 worlds gathered to hear the latest intelligence. The Harvester fleet had been detected crossing the outer rim, their massive organic mechanical vessels consuming everything in their path. Asteroids, space stations, even small moons, converting all matter into more of themselves. Vega stood before the assembled delegates, his presence commanding immediate silence. Beside him stood Lithara and 5 other observers, their ancient eyes watching humanity's rapid evolution with cautious hope. The Harvesters will reach populated worlds within 60 days, Vega announced. Their advanced scouts have already destroyed 3 outposts in the Perseus Arm. Ambassador Torin, now serving as Coalition Prime, manipulated the holographic display to show defensive positions. Our combined fleets have established a perimeter at these coordinates, but conventional weapons have proven ineffective. Recordings from the outpost attacks showed Coalition ships firing their most powerful weapons at the Harvester vessels, only for the energy to be absorbed without effect. The Harvester's response, tendrils of dark energy that simply erased matter from existence, had decimated the defending forces. This is why the progenitors created humanity as they did, Lithara explained. The Harvesters exist partially outside normal space-time. They cannot be fought with conventional physics alone. Vega nodded, which is why we've been accelerating the transformation program. We now have over 10,000 awakened humans ready to deploy, with unique abilities ranging from matter manipulation to temporal distortion. And you believe these superhumans can succeed where the combined technology of 200 worlds has failed? Asked the Merivian delegate skeptically. We don't just believe it, Vega replied. We've proven it. He gestured, and the holographic display changed to show footage from a classified engagement 3 days earlier. A small Harvester scout ship had been intercepted by a team of 7 transformed humans. Where conventional weapons had failed, these humans had torn reality apart around the vessel, creating localized singularities that pulled the Harvester into a pocket dimension where it was systematically dismantled. The Temple's gifts allow us to affect the Harvesters on all planes of existence they inhabit, Vega explained. But we need more awakened humans, and we need more time. The meeting concluded with a desperate plan. The Coalition fleets would engage in delaying actions while Earth continued transforming suitable candidates as quickly as possible. It wasn't ideal, but it was their only hope. Later, in the Temple's inner chamber on the moon, Vega stood with Lithara before the activation pedestal that had changed him months earlier. Something's still bothering you, Lithara observed. Vega nodded. The Temple's knowledge is vast, but it feels incomplete, like we're missing something crucial about our purpose. The progenitors were careful with how much they revealed at once, Lithara said. Perhaps there's more to discover. We don't have time for careful revelations, Vega replied. The Harvesters will be here in less than 2 months. At our current rate, we'll have maybe 30,000 transformed humans by then. Is that enough? Lithara's galaxy eyes dimmed slightly. No. The last Harvester incursion 50,000 years ago required the sacrifice of the entire progenitor civilization to repel. Millions of individuals with abilities similar to what you now possess. Then we need to accelerate the process. Vega placed his hands on the activation pedestal. And I think I know how. Before Lithara could stop him, Vega had connected his consciousness directly to the Temple's core systems, delving deeper than any human was meant to go. The chamber filled with blinding light as the Temple responded to his intrusion, ancient safeguards activating to protect its deeper secrets. Marcus, Lithara called out, but he was already beyond hearing. Within the Temple's virtual space, Vega encountered something unexpected. Not just data or knowledge, but a presence. An intelligence preserved from the final days of the progenitor civilization. You come seeking answers. The presence communicated directly to his mind. But are you prepared for what they will cost? My species doesn't have the luxury of caution, Vega replied. The Harvesters are coming and we aren't ready. No species is ever ready, the presence stated. That is why the cycle has continued for millions of years. Then why create us at all? Why engineer humanity with these dormant abilities if you knew we would fail too? The presence seemed to consider this. Your species was our final experiment. Different from all previous attempts. Not just in your potential abilities, but in your nature. Images flooded Vega's consciousness, the progenitors' countless failed attempts to create species capable of defeating the harvesters. Each civilization they'd engineered had been given remarkable gifts, yet each had fallen. What makes us different? Vega asked. The others were designed for cooperation, harmony, unity of purpose, the presence explained. You were designed for conflict, adaptation, and unpredictability. While other species reach plateaus in their development, humanity never stops changing. And that's enough to defeat the harvesters? Perhaps, but only if you complete the transformation as intended. Creates her file, MNT, user, data, outputs, part 5 aren't alone. In the temple.md tar, alone in the temple, he found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever. The presence revealed the temple's true purpose, not just to awaken abilities in individual humans, but to eventually connect all of humanity into a single, unified consciousness while maintaining the individual creativity and chaos that made humans unique. A paradoxical state the progenitors themselves had never achieved. The final transformation requires a catalyst. The presence continued. A single mind that can bear the weight of connection without being destroyed by it. Vega understood immediately. That's why I was brought to the temple first. I'm not just the first, I'm meant to be the conduit. Yes, but the process will consume you entirely. What remains will no longer be Marcus Vega, but something both more and less. Without hesitation, Vega replied, "Tell me what to do." When Lethera finally managed to enter the temple's core chamber, she found Vega suspended in a column of light, his physical form beginning to dissolve into pure energy. Around him, the temple's architecture was reconfiguring, preparing for something unprecedented. "What have you done?" she demanded, though she already sensed the answer. Vega's voice came not from his dissolving body but from all around her, what was always intended. The temple isn't just a transformation device, it's a transmitter. Across Earth, every human who had undergone the awakening suddenly felt a new presence in their mind. Vega's consciousness, linking them together while preserving their individuality. And beyond them, ripples of potential began activating in billions of unawakened humans worldwide. Not the full transformation, but the first stages of connection. In orbit around Earth, coalition ships detected an enormous energy signature emanating from the lunar temple. Fearing an attack, they raised shields only to watch in awe as a wave of golden energy expanded outward from the moon, washing over Earth and continuing into space. Where the wave passed, transformed humans felt their abilities amplify exponentially. Ordinary humans experienced brief glimpses of perception beyond normal senses. And on coalition ships, alien crews watched in wonder as their human colleagues momentarily glowed with inner light. In Geneva, during an emergency session of the Coalition Council, the holographic display suddenly shattered as every transformed human in the room simultaneously rose several inches off the floor, their eyes blazing with the same luminescence as Vega's. When they spoke in unison, though each voice remained distinct. "We understand now. We know what we must do." Ambassador Torrens stepped forward cautiously. "Admiral Vega?" The transformed human smiled, the same smile on every face. "Vega is everywhere and nowhere. He has become the network that connects us all. Through him, we now see the harvesters for what they truly are, and we know how to fight them." On the tactical displays, the harvester fleet had suddenly accelerated, as if sensing the change in humanity. Their arrival time had been reduced from weeks to days. "They fear what we've become," the unified humans explained, as they should. 3 days later, in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, humanity faced its destined enemy. A fleet of 10,000 coalition ships, each now carrying transformed humans, met the Harvester Armada head-on. But the real battle wasn't fought with weapons. As the Harvesters approached, every transformed human simultaneously extended their consciousness into the fabric of reality itself. Connected through the network Vega had become, their combined power created something the galaxy had never witnessed, a complete rewriting of localized physics. The Harvesters, creatures that existed partially outside normal spacetime, suddenly found themselves fully pulled into the material universe, subject to its laws and limitations. Their matter-erasing weapons faltered as the principles they exploited were temporarily suspended around Earth's solar system. The unified consciousness that had been Marcus Vega directed the transformed humans in perfect coordination. each using their unique abilities to target specific vulnerabilities in the now materialized harvesters. The battle raged for 27 hours. Coalition ships provided defense and support while the transformed humans, now numbering nearly 40,000, thanks to the accelerated awakening, executed maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of physics. When it ended, the harvester fleet had been completely destroyed. Not a single vessel escaped to carry warning to others of their kind lurking in dark space. But the victory came at a cost. Thousands of transformed humans had burned out their abilities, some paying with their lives. The connection that had bound them was fading as Vega's dispersed consciousness began to dissipate. In the temple on the moon, Lithera stood with the remaining observers, watching the energy that had been Marcus Vega slowly coalesce back into a humanoid form. "Is he?" she began. "Not as he was," another observer replied, "but not gone either." The figure that finally materialized before them had Vega's features but was composed of shifting energy rather than solid matter. When he spoke, his voice resonated at frequencies that made the temple's crystal walls sing. "The harvesters in our galaxy are defeated," he said, "but there are more between the galaxies. Many more. What happens now?" Lithera asked. "Now," said the being that had once been Admiral Marcus Vega, "humanity takes its place as the progenitors intended, not as rulers or conquerors, but as guardians. The temple's transformation will continue, awakening abilities in those who are ready. The network I've created will remain, though more subtle than during the battle. And you?" Lithera's galaxy eyes met his luminescent ones. "I exist between states now, part human, part something else. A bridge between what humanity is and what it will become." He smiled faintly. "The first of a new kind of being, but not the last." In the years that followed, humanity's place in the galaxy transformed from quarantined danger to essential ally. The coalition evolved into a new form of galactic governance, with transformed humans serving as mediators, peacekeepers and defenders against threats from beyond the rim. The temple on the moon became a place of pilgrimage, for humans seeking awakening, and for aliens seeking understanding of the progenitor's final gift to the galaxy. And Marcus Vega, once a simple naval officer who had stumbled upon a goddess in an ancient temple, became something of a myth himself, a consciousness that existed everywhere and nowhere, guiding humanity's evolution toward its ultimate purpose, a purpose that had begun when, alone in the temple, he had found a goddess and changed the galaxy forever.